Well, in case you haven't guessed, this is Kathy Shaner. And this will probably go up on your collar or real close on the strap.
I hate these things. They hate me.
It's just an intelligence test we can watch. It's kind of fun.
I've watched this before, yeah. So
Anyway.
Is this on?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yes.
You mean this actually works?
Yeah, it's like full of
I ought to talk to the other folks.
They have a virtual sound system.
The mic fell over.
Yeah, you probably have to put it up on the strap up here, close to your neck. Anyway, for those of you that don't know Kathy Shaner, she's been doing this stuff for a little over 30 years, call it 3 decades. She was trained in California initially, and then spent a full apprenticeship as the first woman, first U.S. citizen to go through an apprenticeship program in Japan, and complete it and come out and been kicking butt ever since. She travels all over the U.S. doing demonstrations. She takes care of people's trees, and she's one of the headliners at the convention in Riverside this year. So this particular tree here, John Voss bought many moons ago, and he had it for about 20 years in his at his nursery. In March, I think it was March, we repotted it. It was extremely root bound and not particularly happy, but that's the way root bound trees go. And Gary Jones and one of the other club members not here today repotted that puppy and wired it in nice and strong so it can get rough handled by whoever was going to style it. The tree was purchased for the to be styled and then donated to the Huntington Garden during the Bonsai-a-thon as an auction item. And that's what Kathy is going to do basically, is show you how to get this done and prep it at the same time to grow back out to make a decent auction item. It will be repotted November and of course wired strongly into the pot for the auction in February. So Kathy, you're up.
You said a decent auction item
Outstanding.
No, did I say decent?
in 35 minutes?
No, it'll be excellent. You know, when they have a saying that if you're in a hole, quit digging. So.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't know, these, I always have a problem, you know that from past years down here as well as other places. The microphones and I do not get along for some reason, things go, and I don't, it's just not, and there's the end of the demo. So, first thing you want to look at, okay, this has been repotted, and it does sound like maybe somebody knew what they were doing when they did it. So I've got to go ahead and believe that's the case. What do you do with this? I didn't want to cut on this ahead of time. I could have had my way with it and then come up here and said I was done. But there's a lot, I like to look at a tree fresh. I don't like to look at it ahead of time. I just saw it sitting over there fuzzy and green, and I figured, okay, it's got a little bit of stuff on there. I didn't look to see the movement. I love this branch right here. It comes up and out, it rolls over, it comes forward, it bounces back down, and it has a lot of interest. There's a piece of gin here. I don't know that I'll keep that. There's some other things going on. Now, just to have that nice branch in there is fine, but what's it going to do? So we've got this trunk that just kind of goes up like that, and then this long branch comes dinging out. It's got a little dead thing here. It's got something funny that comes up from the bottom, and then it's got this middle piece. What do you do with a tree like that? That one branch up above, this branch has so much, it's not my phone, has so much interest in it. I really want to use that, but I don't like where it's at now, and I'm not going to be able to move it. But you can move it in a different way. You move it by changing the direction it's potted in. Might be bringing it over to the side and showing it off. But for this one, what would probably look better is simply bring this tree forward and off to the side a little. So it's really diving right at you and then heading out, rather than up and over. So that's going to give us a lot of interest. We have some very straight branches. This has everything in age in it. And then we've got this long branch coming off here to the side and raising up. Not a whole lot of interest, not a lot of age. This is very little age down here. We might end up cutting a lot of that off. We also have the option of going with the trunk and on up into this zone and forgetting all about that. But I'm not going there. So I'm going to start clipping, and I'll clip and turn around and clip and turn around and let you see what's going on. There are some very long leggy branches in here, and there are some that are short and tight, and I like the ones that are shorter to the trunk. So we're going to do some of that. There may also be, I don't know, I'll have to see if this is going into a, so what do I do with the, there's always people out there that want to do cuttings or something. I mean, we're all so young, we should be doing cuttings all the time. That way our great-grandkids will have something. If we were lucky enough to have kids, so we could have great-grandkids down the line.
Anybody want that?
It's good for sweeping up with, you know, it's got a little broom on the end, especially when it gets old, it picks up cobwebs. So I'm opening that up a little bit, and I'm going to open it up some more. I don't know whether I'm going to take this piece off or not, but there's a little one in the middle there. Just kind of, I hate this. I just really don't like that one at all. I don't like this one. I mean, it's dead up here, it might as well be dead down below. So we're going to do something to either make it look deader or disappear. So we'll have to decide. That's looking better already. Wow. I like this other branch right here. I like this part of it. So I'm going to keep that part. And this one here is just getting in the way. So, I mean, we've got cuttings up here. If you want cuttings. And start a new tree. Don't you wish you knew what was going on back here? I do. I don't know what's happening. The cutter's going on its own. It's automatic. These cutters, you know, when you have tools with you for a long time, they just anticipate what you would do. So you don't have to do anything anymore. You just kind of guide them in there, and they'll just take over. And it's a wonderful feeling, because when you get older, you forget what you were doing. So these cutters have that old understanding of what's going on and what to do, and you know, you just go to sleep up here. If you hear me snoring, it's okay. I need a little stuff once in a while to kind of get, you know, my juices back in there. So I'm just, don't worry about what we're doing.
Are those concave cutters you use?
No, this is just diagonal. I don't like concave that much. I don't necessarily like diagonal. And since I didn't like the branches I'm cutting off, it works. Yeah, I'm a New Yorker. There's not a whole lot of things we like, except we like to dislike. So it works out real well. You know, if you get there, you'll understand. Yeah, you try to get away from New York, but it just follows you all over again. So, in everything you're taping, all the voice has to be bleeped out later on.
You got it.
I mean, people are paying to hear this, but they, you know, they didn't
It's
think
free.
enough to come
They
here.
get what they pay for.
So what's happening to this tree? We're starting to shorten up on it. Starting to get to be a tree that's not gonna need as much wiring. That should make most of you happy. But more than that, it's bringing your eye down to what's the most interesting. And that's what we're going to build on. They're long, there's leggy, there wasn't much in between. Leaving it long like that is not going to get this inside growth any tighter, any denser. It's just going to keep putting that energy to the outside edge. So we're starting to change it. Is this piece going to stay? Probably not. So what are we going to do with that piece? We're going to make it look a little more interesting. Now we've got a couple other cutters we play with. So these will get it, and we're going to strip some of the wood. We're actually going to crack it down. I don't want this long piece that there's no taper in there. I don't know if you can see that from down below or not. You know, it's just a round little thing that's been brought over that's about as ugly as it can get. So we're going to strip that down. I don't mind part of it, and I don't mind it being thinner, and I don't mind the little pieces coming out towards the front. But by golly, this thing, it looks like it's got a little binocular out there on you. It's looking around at the world and wondering what's happening. Paranoid. So we're going to get in there and strip some of that stuff back. And we're taking it off the top. Why the top? That's where all the damage would come from. We took it off underneath, it would be more of a rotted thing. We'll probably do that too. So that, you can't see it from your side, I can see it from up here, so you'll just have to wait and trust me that it's going to be okay. And now we're going to go underneath, so we're thinning it out a little bit more. Gives us a little more room to get inside where the other part of the tree is more important. I'm going to now cut to the inside section. I like this. We don't have to worry about too much more of this tree, or this half of it. So if you can't do something, you stick a chopstick down in there and then you can move your tool. So what do we have left, 15 minutes?
I'm going to come up right behind you.
Well, that's over here.
Yep, I'm on my way.
Oh,
There we go.
tired of me being the only one to see what was going on?
That's right.
That's why you handle the camera, so you get all the good shots.
You are-
Not the good shots, but you can see.
100% correct. Everyone says, hey, thanks for doing that. So yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
Checking out your work, Sam.
It's not bad, right?
Here, who wanted it? It was dead before it started.
Aren't we all?
Okay, are we all? Yeah. You're too young to say that. Yeah, you got another 3 years. I remember a time when we used to think it was all uphill. When you finally get to the top of the hill, you realize how far down it is on the other side.
You can only walk halfway into the forest. The rest of the time you're walking out.
That's right. But boy, it sure smells good when you're walking in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now, by taking all that crap off of there, whoops, we've got this to do, but you've got a little better sense for what's happening up in here. Before, it was a little bit too close. It just looked like some sick little animal, snake or something. So now I'm going to trim some of this back a little bit. See, trees know what they want. They've been living for a long time in this skin. They know where to break. They know what to give you. They know what they want to look like when they're finally on a bonsai stand in a lovely little show. And the big thing that really got me going on that, this tree, and cleaning it up all the way, is that I know once it gets to Huntington, nobody's going to do anything with the tree. It'll just sit there in the back for a long time and grow so they can redo it. So I might as well have my way with it and make it almost impossible for them to do something else. So they'll be tempted to put it on the stand so they can show it for a week or two before it dies. No, that would never happen. I would not allow that. Because they'd probably send one up to our collection that would do the same thing. Now, when you work on a tree, working on the dead wood is probably the best. We took away some important living sections. I'm sorry you can't see this, but
Okay.
it was the best part.
Perfect.
Okay. When you're working on a tree, if you don't know for sure what the tree has to offer, you're playing with it, you have an idea of where you're going and what you want to do, but you're not 100%. Work on some of this other stuff first. Get the tree down to what I call a manageable state. Sometimes we leave way, way, way too much foliage on the tree to start with. Where's my knife?
Sorry.
And if we get rid of some of that excess foliage, get rid of some of the, and develop some of the gin, the rest of it will become a lot easier. If we do a lot of work on our living tissue first, and then get down to do gin and shari and whatever else we want, you're not going to be able to get in there and work it because you're going to have that new living tissue, the new branches, right down on top of where you've got to create this nice shari. So it always helps to get a little bit of that done first. Doesn't mean you have to string it out right at that moment, but you get it down to a manageable size where you can get around it a little bit, and then we'll start doing the top. Now we've got a little bit of a split between these two pieces, which means I could leave one up a little higher or just pull it out. This is still sticking out a little farther in the front than I'd like it to be. And if I pull on the top, I might be able to suck a little more out of here, and then I wouldn't have enough left on, and this would fall off, so that's not going to happen. Our other direction is just to come from the backside and start to rip that out. And that's the direction I'm going in. I want to see a little more deadwood come down the trunk line right into the base. And we were sucking out a nice amount of wood. So as you get into it, I don't know if you can do a close-up on that to see the depth of it. I'm pulling slowly so I don't break the fibers. I want to get a nice deep pull so it sucks that vein out. Okay, can you see that? The depth?
Mhm.
Small gins on trees, most of the time, so much better than big, long gins. It's not how big your gin can be, it's not how thick, it's not how long and stringy. It's how important does it look. And it can look far more important when it's very small because it has aged. it looks like it's been on a long time and it's worn out. If you put in something and leave it very long and you've got this little tree over here and you've got this big thing coming up off the side, it's never gonna look right. It's always, your eye is gonna go to that gin. What's more important, the gin or the tree itself? What's important is how that gin developed, that it did develop, and that it allowed the rest of the tree to develop in another way. Look at what we have. We've got this great heavy branch here that has everything in it that's beautiful. And along this side we had this little piece that's going to be ginned out. We had that ginned down here, or part of it. It was not an important piece. That branch is big and heavy, so something happened over here over a period of time, multiple times maybe, where it was trashed. So that's going to give us the feeling that this tree has survived some very, very outrageously difficult time periods, and it not only survived but looks more elegant, more exciting because of what it went through and how it was able to repair itself, just like us. You know, and we know that as we get older. It is what it is, but it's more exciting that way. You know, we know what we've been through, and we've got our war stories, and you know, if you haven't had any challenges through life, you're not much of an interesting person to talk to. We've got a lot of interest. We can talk about a lot of things. But trees are the same way. They can't talk, but they can certainly explain things. When you look at them, you can get the feeling for what's happened. And if we're creating bonsai, we're not just trying to make the tree look pretty, we're trying to put a storyline with it, and this stuff all adds to that storyline. So we've got just a hair more to do on this. I got a little bit there, I can probably finish that after I do the other part, but that bottom was important to me. Now, how are we going to make that work? I love this piece. What I don't like about this piece is that, and I'm going to turn this around so you can't see, this is going to go down. So we have this wonderful branch coming across. We've got a pad we can create here. This drops down, and then this comes back up. Well, it's not going to. It's going to go down a little bit more and soften. Otherwise, we just got this thing down my chest. Okay. So we're going to bend that one down and forward a little bit because there's some great age in this part of the branch right between here and here. You can't see it yet. I'll try to pull that back so maybe you can see it on the camera. But there's just a lot of interest in that little area. And if we hide it with this fist coming up here, it's not going to be nice. If we make that shorter, it's not going to be as nice. I need to bring that out and show it off, let it fill out, and it's going to be not quite a semi-cascade, but a very strong wind-influenced or, wind influence works. But we're also going to be tipping this tree forward. That'll be the final thing I do. I'm going to have to tip the pot when we do it at the end to show you where it is, and we'll put a guy wire in that'll also show that. But we're going to pull this down right now, and I'm going to join that to this clump of branches behind it. There's so much going on in this one branch. I'm going to bend that down. So if you see all those branches coming off, this right here is separate. Everything else up here belongs to that one big, beautiful branch. See it? So everything above this thumb belongs to that branch. And we're going to use every part of that. And we're going to spread it out. So it's going to become a very strong branch that covers a big area. It's not just this little thing out there. And this part in the front is going to come down and create another little branch, enough that I can see what's underneath it right in here. But a nice little area. This is truly, I'm glad this is going in for auction there because I think it's going to it should be a great tree that you'll go after. Bring it back to your club. You know, just because you send it up there doesn't mean you can't bid on it. But it has so much going for it. Can we put in silent bids? So, when you look for a tree, you don't just look for one with a lot of green on it. You look for a tree that has some little buried treasure that makes it an individual. Every tree, it's like every person has something about them that is truly worth bringing out. And if you make them all look like cookie cutters, you're not bringing out the beauty and the treasure in that tree. And this tree has a treasure we've found, and we're going to bring it out. So I'm going to start working on this outside edge now, wiring those branches. It will take a little bit of time, and if I have to, I'll be doing more of this later on or tonight instead of sleeping. And we can always get another picture to people in the future if you need to see what it looks like. So I don't like giving up early on trees. Can't help myself.
Just a quick note,
Yeah.
the wire, copper wire donated by Fred Miyahara for the demonstration.
All this up here? Whoa, thank you, Fred.
Whatever
Oh, I'll use a lot. I'm not, I get even, yeah. I'm not unhappy about that. I mean, this is good. I like, you know, it's not anything I wouldn't do at home. If I had this tree there, I would also do it. And if it means I can use more wire on here, since it's been donated for whatever I need, I'll use as much as I can. I'm not mad at you, Fred. Is Fred here?
Yes, he's out there. Where's Waldo?
Oh, you're hiding. Thank you, Fred. I do appreciate it, because with aluminum wire, sorry, I'd be on the next boat home. It's not gonna work, but this is great. And then, see, the raffle or the auction price will go up on this because it'll have so much wire on it. So the recycle, amount has gone up. So the wire came from Fred. Where did the tree come from?
John Boss.
Is that one of John Boss's great growing field trees?
Yes.
Man, you rock.
Where did the tree come from before that, John?
He picked the seed when he was 9 years old.
That's a much better story. Just be quiet, John.
I was fortunate enough to live in North County where we had a lot of mom and pop Japanese-owned nurseries. And I started collecting 30 years ago.
Well,
And I would go out on a Saturday, about once a month or so, and go and buy 2 or 3 members from the Japanese nurseries. And this one actually came from a non-Japanese owned nursery, actually. It was Ganter Nursery in Gopher Canyon area of Vista, North County.
wow.
And they had a batch of them, and myself and another person were kind of competing with each other how many we could each purchase in a short period of time. Because we realized that they weren't going to be around very.
You what?
We realized that the plants were not going to be there very long. But we were the only ones buying them. And you don't find Prostrato or San Jose's in the nurseries anymore. At least the nurseries that I know of.
Yeah, well, this was wonderful because whatever you did, I mean, it may have had that branch, I'm sure, in the beginning because it looks like it's the oldest piece on it. But to have kept that and not whacked it off, any other place, people would have knocked it off because they want the tree to go up.
I also worked them. I worked on all of my trees through the years. Maybe not as much as I could have, but at least the tops have been worked.
Well, That's important. This is really nice. Thank
See the
you.
wire marks?
No, but I see a little piece of dynamite charge here and there. No, the wire marks, if they were here, they're well hidden. I mean, they could be there. I'm blind. I'm doing this by braille. I just wear the glasses for the heck of it. Well, anyway, all of this, huh?
I have larger ones, larger diameter ones.
Oh, really? Hmm. So are they coming to the next convention?
No. Oh, well, maybe, but probably not.
Okay. I won't get into why, because it might be something personal.
Not too many people know of me, know what I have. Charlie's the one that sort of discovered me, so to speak, yes, from this club. And I don't really tell very many people that I have stuff available, so I'm not really doing my job as a salesperson. But I have specimens that are up to 40 years old, that I've had in 40 years. And they were like 15 years when I bought them.
Okay, let me ask you something. At the convention a fair number of years ago, when Pedro was there and Warren Hill and I were up on stage, I had one that was a liquid amber that had been growing in a big metal suitcase, top or bottom, I'm not sure.
John Jackson's plant.
That was what?
John Jackson's plant?
That was John Jackson? Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had something to do with that.
No.
Okay,
I think I transported it.
okay.
I'm not sure.
Well, it is doing fine. It is at our collection. It's been there since the beginning, and we've had a lot of fun with it.
Good.
And it's in a very nice pot now.
Yeah, much better than the original.
Much better than the original.
But it was a growing container. It was a military storage container that he purchased from Swap Meet. He would buy both halves for like $2 to $5, and that size container was probably at least 2 foot long and.
Oh, no, it was closer to 3. It was huge.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was huge.
So you-
And about that deep for that half of
Yeah,
the,
perfect.
I mean, it was, yeah, it was,
Kind of like fiberglass, right?
yeah, fiberglass kind of,
Yeah.
and a few
So
holes
for
punched in
$5
it.
you could get 2 files. And these big growing containers, it's perfect.
Oh, it was perfect. It was actually, it made it nice because it was light.
You can drill holes for
You could
drainage.
drill holes for drainage, yeah. And the only problem is the tree when we got it, just for the kapow power, people like to leave things as long as they could. And I think we had a lot of 10-foot branches on there.
Wow.
Yeah, so you cut them off and you didn't have anything else to do. But boy, did it pop back. Ooh.
He did it that way to get the diameter.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that's what makes a tree. It is absolutely wonderful. So getting into some of these trees, it's a lot of fun. Now, I put the wire on. When I put big wire on, I put it on fairly loose. I don't tighten up against the branch because I tighten up. I mean, when I take a branch, I'm going to twist it and I'm going to be making that wire tighter. So you've got to leave extra room there, and I'm going to turn them around and do all sorts of things, so that's going to suck up the room. I want people to be very careful. Just because it looks nice and neat, to have the wire close together and on the branch, it's not always best for the tree. So depends on how neurotic your teacher is, whether you get by with this technique or not. And also, as you get older, you forget. So you think you're supposed to do it loose and don't have the strength anymore. You can come up with all sorts of excuses. But the best one is, if you're going to be taking that branch and you're bending it around, you better be putting a little bit of space in there, or you're going to be biting into that trunk as you're twisting. It's a little bit difficult here. So this treasure of a branch, which is really wonderful because of all these secondary branches that are coming off the primary and close together. The problem with having that many and that close is it's hard to get the wire around. But it's going to make it, where's that one going? That's a dead piece. So there are so many people in this club, and most of you can count yourselves in on that are so good to the bonsai community. Some great nurseries, great collectors, bringing things in, always helping out at conventions, always giving of their time and their material. And that's what makes a good club better. And I would have to say my feeling is from a lot of clubs I go to around the country, this is probably one of the best clubs. You're strong, you've got I'm not saying that because I want to come back again, I know. But it's true. You know, there are a lot of clubs that are really hurting. It's because there aren't enough people that are wanting to give their time. They don't want to get on the board. They don't want to do this. They just don't want to, a lot of things, you know, that's the middle of sentence of everything they say. It's just, I don't have the time, I can't, you know, well, if everybody feels that way, nobody is going to be able to move ahead. And you can find time, you can find a little bit, and obviously people here have. So I really do applaud you for that. It's wonderful. Okay, I may have to, do I want that? You know what I want to do with that branch, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not doing that, I'm doing something else. Get my little cutters out here. So this branch is driving me crazy, okay? It's on the outside of a bend, you know? We're working on this thing up here. This is everything I want. But this little dumb thing is on the outside of the bend, and it is straight, ramrod straight. And then it's got a lot of interest in it. So it's got to do one of two things. It's either got to come off, or it's got to go somewhere else. So we're going to make it go somewhere else. So I get my little cutter, and I'm going to get in right behind that joint, and this is one you will have to see if we can get a good picture of that. Okay, I could rip it off, but I don't want to quite rip it. I'm going to get behind it and cut a little bit behind it, and then I'm going to pull it to the back. This is a low branch. And do we have lowest branches to the back? No, normally not.
Are we expecting to hear music?
No. No, I'm not gonna. I was gonna try to do it so you can see it, but I'm gonna have to have more control than that.
I got you.
So, we'll do it.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I just lightly got in there. I could take my hammer and chisel and go in a little deeper, but I'd rather cut it. And I want to pull it down so it pulls away from here just a little bit. It's going to pull to the back, but also down. I want to get it off this parallel line, and I want to get it away from this one. So even going to the back would work. And if I pull it, I could come back this way, and it'll just go uphill. So it's going to take a few seconds to pull it down. And if that's not going to do it, then I will get in here a little deeper. And if you're wondering why the planes complain about all the weight that's in the bottom part of the plane, it's because I'm on that plane. I like to carry everything I think I could ever use and more. That's kind of a woman thing to begin with, but that extends to my tools. So I'm going down below the collar. So promise we will put some of that dirt back in there. And this is something we've got to go slow on. Can I do it over on this edge?
Whatever works for you. Oh yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay, I'm going to be bending from this side.
Perfect.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So the whole idea here is to put pressure on it, not yank it out, just constant pressure. So we start to pull the fibers apart. I can hear some of it cracking. Because I don't want the rip to look like it's unnatural. I want it to look like it happened in nature. And this Mother Nature is going to pull it down. Okay, so we've pulled it out, and it's starting to, can you see that ripping down on the side as well? Okay, so I'm going to be able to pull it, and we'll stick, for now, a cork in there, or a piece of wood that I happen to have nearby. Keep that apart, and then I'll tie it off on the back. Okay, so I just stuck a little piece of wood in there. So that's pushed it way to the back now. This area is going to have its way. This can become a gin later, but it's going to survive. It's not something that's going to die off. We haven't interrupted any of the lifeline. That lifeline is still there, feeding everything. It just came apart at the front. So it's like splitting your two fingers. You know, there's nothing here that's hard. You've got your lifeline here, you've got your lifeline there. So when we split, we're pulling between the lifeline, not through it. So you haven't injured anything. And I will pull it back a little farther because we have this branch in the back. So now I'm going to put a wire on it, little guy line. And when I do guy wires, I actually do what I call gal wires instead of guy wires, because these really hold. They're not just for show. What these are, it's a one line. It's not the double with the funny little twist thing in the middle that really brings it together about 3/4 of an inch. These are ones that know how to work. Another thing gals do real well. So I'm leaving a little bit of space, a little loop in the bottom of that wire. I'll turn it around in a minute so you can see it. All right, see this loop? We take our wire, it's one, it's just tied here, tied off farther out on that branch that I want to move. And I bring it together and I start twisting. And that is, I'm actually going to turn it towards the front so you can watch this branch come back. See how that moves? Okay, we just bring it out, and I see that next side on the left hand. See how that comes back? Okay. So leave a little extra room on that wire, and you make sure you pull it. And yes, I'm ambidextrous. My mind works that way too. So when you're pulling it back, it can keep pulling. It's gotten to a point where it's a little tight. It's like it's running into the wind now. But this is something that you can continue to pull. You wait about 2 months, you go in, give it another little tuck. It has not moved this branch at all. It only moved this one to the back. Now we're going to take and finish off what we have up here. And actually pull that one up as well later. So Fred, have you heard from Kenji since he moved back to Atlanta? Or moved to Atlanta? Huh?
Yes,
You have, okay.
you just left Wednesday, go home.
Oh, left here?
Yeah. He broke his 2 fingers,
He what?
broke his 2 fingers.
On the right hand?
He had to cancel his trip to New England.
Had to what?
Cancel his trip to New England in June.
Was that because of the move?
Pardon?
Because of the move, or people out here were so pissed at him they broke his fingers?
Well, they had, they couldn't open the door,
Yeah?
they took it slow, check, he's doing fine though. He complains about 5 acres of grass.
He what?
He complains about the 5 acres of grass here.
Yeah, it's gonna be every week and then twice a week, probably. Well, you know, you get what you wanted. He wanted a good growing place. Just didn't realize everything grows there. And then we get all that nice weather back there too, you know, you get the hail. Strong, strong winds. All right, starting to bend this one down. This is still a very straight place. I'm going to put one more big wire on that one. Not real big, but enough to, oops, yeah, I miss seeing him. I was there at the same time, but just didn't get that far. You know, he's at the south of Atlanta, so I was in the north of Atlanta. It's a long ways. So what I'm going to do with this tree, because I will not have it completed the way I'm happy with it being completed, I'm going to keep working on this while I'm here this next year or so. this one will get out to this little tail. It will drop it down nicely. So this tree, again, the most important part is this front branch, because this is what the tree is all about. Everything else is just going to have to follow along. We're going to create a nice crown. The crown is going to come over towards this branch as well. And we're going to show all these different heights on the branch. So it'll look like this huge mound with all sorts of interesting lines going through it. But separating this one piece from this back area is really important. All these little branches need to be hit. There's a little branch here that I like, but I'll tell you, there's not much left on it. It's only got a little jobby there, but I'm going to, and you can show this if you want. Little Trixie here is at it again. I've got this heavy, chunky branch, and it has this little foliage on it that's not much, but we've got this little tiny branch right next to it. I'm going to bring that branch and actually wire it with this. So this branch is not going to last, but it'll give me a little more support visually on that. So this will be a little gin down the line, right next to it, and the other branch will be in the positioning then that I like, giving me the green growth I want. Okay, so can you see those two individual branches?
Can.
Because we have so many interesting branches behind it, this is pretty much staying on one plane. The others will give us what we need as far as depth. No number 12, huh? Well, beggars. Got picture first. When I do a tree, I always look for, as I started to say earlier, that special spot. I don't like trees that look like cookie cutters. Everyone looks the same. There are so many, even in Japan, you look at a lot of the trees that are being developed anymore, they all have these little round crowns that sometimes go all the way down, and maybe another little something, but they all have the same, no matter what kind of a tree it is, they all have the same little crown, and it doesn't seem to matter if it's a maple or a juniper or a pine or whatever. And it gets boring after a while. You just get tired of looking at them. It's easy to do. You know, it's that ice cream scoop look. I'd like to see something that looks like a Carvel ice cream, you know, it's got little whippies on there, and it kind of sinks to the side, you know, it's something you could really get your tongue around. Yeah, I think I just figured out why this club is so strong. When you live down here in San Diego, I mean, there's no stress. Life is so easy. I mean, the weather is great, you know, it's got beautiful vistas to look at. You have to do something, so you just come down here to catch up to see if somebody else's life is kind of miserable. It makes you feel better. At least you know somebody is going through a little suffering. It's not, you know, it gets boring after a while. So this little one is just mimicking that first branch, but hiding behind it. So it gives us a little more depth. That's the only reason for that branch. It gives us a little more on the top as well. We'll get that last. Go around to the back. The little branch is looking good there.
Kathy, tell us about ribs.
Club in Santa Rosa.
Talk to us about the makeup of the club members.
We've got an interesting group. We don't have as many young people as I'd like to see. But there's still a fair number, and there are some newer ones coming in. Got several good vendors. Bob Scheinman's a member. We have some members that came from the Fresno area that have who couldn't wait to move up there, where it was a little cooler than it was in Fresno. Kind of like moving here.
Is Jim Gremmel a member?
Jim Gremmel is a member. We don't see him that often, but he's pretty busy. He's got some great material. Doesn't always like to sell it, but he has some great material. But he does, and he's getting, he's doing a lot of pottery again, getting back into it, which we love. He just does some wonderful, wonderful things. But he's kind of, even though he's up closer to us, we don't see him that often, but he'll come to the shows and to the club meetings different times if he's able to.
And what about Frank's collection?
Frank's collection, we had a big sale last year. There are still some trees, but Barbara loves them, and some of the trees have gone to the kids. His daughters, both, and granddaughters, love the trees, and I spent time with them to show them, as if they didn't already know, but to really go over with them how to take care of them. They've done well with the maples. One is waiting to get another maple into her yard. It's a little tough because we're growing high shade rather than put up, some kind of an ugly trellis. Her yard is very hot, even though it's in Sebastopol. There's just no shade. Her sister's got a lot of shade where she's at, and the trees are doing just wonderfully. So we're in Barbara, like I said, she loves her. Barbara had just a nice, huge collection of accent plants, and she's still working on those. So they'll be at the show. We don't have as many trees of Frank's left that are going to be at the show. Some of them are big trees and just don't want to move them, especially that maple over the rock. But things are doing well.
So he was the major displayer in the club's shows, is that true?
We had a lot of trees that would come from his place, but he was, I guess in a way you'd have to say his major, but there were a lot of people that show a lot of trees. I mean, Bob Scheinman will have, 14, 15 in there. Lone Pine would put in a lot, and we had others too. Jim Gremmel would always say he had 11 and bring him 2, maybe once in a while. So that was always tough.
So do you miss having the number of trees have you had an exhibition since Frank's?
Oh yes, last year we had a very full show. This year we're changing it up because we've had a request from a San Francisco group, the Suiseki Club. They are not comfortable with where they were showing. It's not become easy to get to, and the stones don't show off well in that spot because they're against glass windows. So they asked if they could come and show. So they are now going to have several rows of tables of really nice Suiseki display at our red show. So that'll work out very well. So it's moving on. We'll have more shohin because there are more people that are getting older, and shohin gets a little more realistic as you age. You don't have to carry as much, and then look at all these wonderful pots you get to buy. I don't care where you are. I mean, there's just pots that then people are doing potters, and they're wonderful. They're just wonderful. I mean, we used to have little pots. That was it. I think probably the bigger creator of small pots for years was Jim Merritt. And now we've got so many other people, he's kind of dropped out, but that's given us many other outlets to go to, and that's a lot of fun. So finding and doing accents, companion plants, and doing small shohin has become, I think, more available the material and the wherewithal and the knowledge of how to do it and create small things. And a lot of our people are getting older and they don't want the big ones anymore. And that was Frank's, you know, at the end, he wanted his cutesies. They weren't shohin, they were cutesies. But they were shohin. I mean, he just loved that. He loved the variety of the pots, and he could handle them. You know, he could carry them around, and he has a great many. We do have some of those that are still, you know, available. But again, nothing has been pushed because barbers enjoy them. So this year at the show, we'll have some other things to look at. We always look at a different way of presenting stuff. We love presenting a long group of the shohin. It's, to me, again, I think as we get older, we do appreciate the shohins because we can carry them. And because they're so much more, they're small and they're dainty and there's so much more to them. Most people think, oh, they're just a small tree. That's more than that. To really create good shohin, you've got to get down into all this very fine, fine work. And then the pot does make a huge difference in how you present it. So we have an interesting shohin display. It's not always typical. We do a long string of tables that are 2 tables deep. We have big tatami mats that go down through the middle of them. And I use front and back side of those tables. I'll put little tiny shohin way to the back. So it gives us a depth. And on the sides, I'll have a taller tree or so, maybe a big cascade tree that's a little heavier than shohin. But that's a nice way to finish off the long edges of the table. And that table's probably close to the width of this room, you know, that double table. And it allows us to show things without having to worry about somebody walking by and grabbing something off the corner. So we mix it up. We have big box tables. Some of those we do on separate double group tables on our side. But some of the box tables, the smaller box tables, go on this long display. We have the chuhin size on the table right in front of them. So we try to show different groups of things so people get a better idea of, instead of a little shohin tucked in with, you know, all the big trees. It brings it all together, and as a field, it makes them look more interesting. I know nobody here was there because I have known you if you were there. We had, Bill Valdennis did a shohin seminar, show at, in Kannapolis in North Carolina. It's just above Charlotte, about 17 miles. It's an absolutely wonderful facility. They do something called Silhouette in December. So there are trees, and there are trees that come from Washington State and Oregon and some from California for that show, but from all over the country. And he would like to have seen more trees come shohin from over here. We had some of our people, the judge went to that show, and Rob and Polly Jewell went to that show. I was there, I judged, Sue Thin was there, we judged, Bill judged. We had critiques. It was just, it's an absolutely wonderful facility. If you wanted, every other year that's going to happen. I'm just talking about other shows you might think about seeing if you're going to go visit back there. Your grandkids live there, or you just want to go to the Outer Banks or something. You've got a place you can go in between time. So it's a nice time of year. This facility has a rotunda in it that's 4 stories high. It's a huge building. It has lots of stuff around it. That's tons of marble. The marble is 2 inches thick. All the marble that's used on the floor, on the walls, all through the different stories. It's the same marble that Michelangelo got, St. Quarry, that he got his marble from. It's quite a building. And to put trees in that setting just gives you goosebumps. It's marvelous. And this point haven't charged us any longer. So that was very nice, but it's something to think about, you know, and you've got the ability to do that here too. You've got this where you put your show. I mean, look at the size of this room. That's wonderful, and it's bright. You know, we don't always have the best lighting in a lot of our facilities. Rebs is one. We've got that huge ceiling, but the lighting is not great. So you've got a lot of things around here that work. That you need to, I think Bill's got a blog you could probably find on that show that'll give you some pictures. I've got some pictures in the book here you can look at later. Not that my pictures are great, you know, but they're on an iPad. So you can see what it was like. It might give you ideas of one, to come out there, or two, just to build something here. Because as we get older, again, the small ones need so much more. And having nice stands and nice pots on your trees make a big difference. Learning how to set up. Setup is really important. I think there's way too many clubs that have no idea what setup means. Setup means putting a table up, throwing a tablecloth on it, and putting some trees down. You know, it's more than that. It's how do you make them really look good. Okay, now this was the important branch. So that's one that I've wired throughout. I've got more I'm going to do to the back. I'll tone that down so you don't see much. This is another one. Where should this one go? Is that one that's going to come across the front, or are we going to just get rid of this? This is one we're going to get rid of. We're going to bring it down, let it grow for a little bit, just so we can get some movement in this wood when we kill it off.
That's the way it is.